get ready for a journey into one of the most powerful illusions shaping our existence: the ego. In this episode, Hendro encounters beings who live only for the glow of vanity and pride. As he sees himself reflected in this reality, he discovers the importance of transcending appearances to connect with who we truly are. If you've ever questioned what drives your choices or felt the weight of society's masks, this chapter will resonate deeply. Don't forget to like and subscribe now to catch every lesson on this path of self-discovery and liberation. Chapter 5: The Illusion of Ego, Hendro and the Encounter with the Reflection of Ego. Part 1: Arrival on the World of Appearances. In his tireless quest for universal truth and wisdom, Hendro lands on a planet that, from afar, shines intensely like a glittering mirror in the cosmos. This world, known by some travelers as the World of Appearances, is inhabited by beings who live entirely under the rule of the ego. At first, Hendro feels a strange attraction to the external beauty of the planet. Everything seems perfectly organized and radiant, like a jewel. As he approaches a city, he quickly notices that every building is monumental, surrounded by luxurious, exuberant details designed to impress. The streets are filled with beings walking around in ornate clothing, proudly displaying symbols of status and wealth. But as he connects with the energy around him, Hendro feels a profound unease. He senses that, despite the outer brilliance, there's an emptiness echoing in the spirit of each of the beings present. As he heads toward the city center, Hendro finds a square with a massive crystal statue of a local leader. The leader, as it appears, is worshipped by the planet's inhabitants, not for his virtues, but for the power and status he displays. He encounters a figure who seems to hold high authority and decides to engage in conversation. "Strange traveler, you appear different from us," says the figure with an arrogant smile. "What brings your humble presence among so much splendor?" Hendro, with serenity, responds, "I come from a distant place in search of wisdom. I feel that this planet holds deep teachings, although they may not be evident at first sight." The figure in front of him laughs with disdain. "Wisdom, you say? Here, all that matters is the power you project, the image you build. Nothing else holds value." Intrigued, Hendro asks, "And does that image bring you peace?" The figure hesitates for a moment but quickly responds with a firm voice, "Peace doesn't matter. Only the admiration of others. That defines our existence." Part 2: The First Experience with Ego. Hendro decides to explore the planet further, mingling with its inhabitants to understand what drives them. He notices that everyone strives to achieve status and recognition, but few manage to hold on to these symbols of prestige for long. There's a constant competition among them, and Hendro sees how this causes hidden suffering, as each inhabitant is trapped in the need to be admired, never finding true fulfillment. He passes by a group of young beings, showing off new adornments and jewels. Observing closely, Hendro notices a blend of anxiety and anguish in their eyes, as if they're entirely dependent on others' validation to feel whole. Each time someone displays an item of value, others around them feel the immediate need to surpass it in an endless and purposeless pursuit. In a conversation with a young woman, Hendro asks, "What do you feel when you display these jewels?" The young woman smiles, but her eyes betray a hint of sadness. "I feel pride, and also a need. Without this, who am I? No one would see me." "And what happens when attention shifts to someone else?" Hendro inquires. The young woman hesitates. "I feel empty, as if my existence is erased entirely." Part 3: Ego's Reflection in Hendro. Over time, Hendro realizes that even he begins to feel a subtle influence from the environment. In a moment of carelessness, he senses a sudden urge to impress others, to display the knowledge and skills he's gained throughout his journeys. It's a strange and uncomfortable feeling for him, as he knows this isn't his true essence. Nevertheless, he sees the subtle power of the ego and how it can entangle even those who seek truth. To understand this feeling better, Hendro decides to conduct an experiment. He tries to live as the planet's inhabitants do, engaging in their rituals and vanity contests. For a brief moment, he allows his ego to expand, entertaining thoughts of superiority and the need for approval. During this experience, Hendro begins to feel increasingly distant from his essence, more empty and restless. After a time, Hendro decides to meditate and reconnect with his true self. He realizes how the ego acts as a mask, creating an illusion of identity that doesn't align with his true being. Hendro reflects that, by seeking external validation, each of the planet's inhabitants is actually drifting further from inner peace and the truth of who they are. Part 4. Encounter with the Master of Silence. On the outskirts of the city, Hendro encounters an old, simple being who stands out for not wearing any adornments, unlike everyone else. This being, upon noticing Hendro, greets him with a calm smile and invites him to sit in a quiet clearing, far from the city's bustle. "I see you're seeking answers," says the old being, with a voice that conveys serenity and depth. "Here, everyone is trapped in the illusion of the ego, as if each of us were only the image we project." Hendro feels a deep connection with this being, who seems to carry wisdom that all the other inhabitants lack. "Why do they all seek something so empty?" he asks. The old being smiles. "Because the ego is an illusion that feeds its own hunger. It convinces us that we're separate, special, but in reality, it distances us from our true essence. As long as we live for the ego, we're imprisoned in an illusion that can never be filled." Reflection and learning. Hendro spends days beside the old being, observing and learning about living beyond the ego, connecting with his true essence. He realizes that the ego is like a shadow that prevents inner light from shining fully, a mask that hides the true beauty of every being. The old being teaches that, by transcending the ego, we connect with the unity of all that exists, finding a peace that doesn't depend on external validation. As he finishes his journey on that planet, Hendro reflects on how the pursuit of status and recognition doesn't lead to fulfillment, but rather to suffering. He understands that true power lies in simplicity, in connecting with who we truly are, beyond the illusions we create. When Hendro finally leaves the planet, he feels an inner transformation, a deeper understanding of himself and the importance of living beyond the ego. He realizes that, just as he has learned, each of us has the power to free ourselves from the illusions imposed by the ego. Hendro then asks the universe and himself, "Can I live fully without needing recognition? Can I be truth without the mask of ego?" And you? Have you ever wondered how much ego influences your choices? Take a moment to reflect on what motivates you. Share in the comments how this story resonated with you. Leave a like and subscribe to continue following Hendro's journey in search of universal truth.